I hope that this does not offend anyone who happens to live where I'm from, because we loved our neighbors very well and had respect for this family. But I'm going to tell. Ralph and Stella lived across the back way from us. From our kitchen window we could see their house. We could tell if lights were on at night or not. Got to know them very well. Stella had a heart of gold, and she would always make something for someone if there was a death or celebration. She was known for her donuts and the baking that she regularly did. Ralph was her son, and he was, I don't know if he was a genius or not, but he was a very, very smart man. He had a radio station when he was just a kid, and would put it on the band. I wasn't old enough to know what he did or what he talked about or who he talked to, but I think that's pretty amazing for a kid from the creek. Just a teenager, if that. Look at what he did. And I don't know if he took any courses, but in our place he was known as a guy who could fix anything. TV, radio, everything had tubes in those days. And if something happened to our television, which we were lucky we got a secondhand television, and at that time it was a box, like just a little box, not a big box, and it stood on these tall 4 legs, skinny little legs, and this box on the top. And we got 2 channels. I think it was 2 channels. And, if that TV went down, you didn't get to watch the news or Tommy Hunter. What else? Didn't get to watch Shirley Temple on Saturday mornings or Ma and Pa Kettle, Abbott and Costello. Karen used to lay on the floor and just laugh and laugh and laugh when Abbott and Costello were on. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Graham Sparks and I, and maybe some others who don't remember, we used to watch Tommy Hunter every week. So when the television went down, then the only person you'd go talk to would be Ralph. Well, Ralph had a reputation for being really good at what he did. But he also had a reputation. To take your TV there would be the last thing you did, because there were televisions lining the living room, and some were up on the stairs. Stella slept downstairs, and Ralph had the upstairs, and other than newspapers, it was TVs and TVs and TVs. So I learned very early on, don't take your TV there. Possession is 9/10 of the law. So I would take a tube out and walk over to their place and say, Ralph, do you think it's this tube? And he'd look at it and say, no, that's a good tube. So I'd go back home, put that one back where I took it out of, And I'd take out another tube and go over and go back up, knock on the door and say, Ralph, do you think it's this tube? And he'd look at it and say, no, not that tube. That's a good tube. So off we went again, and I'd do this over and over, as many times as it took, till eventually Ralph would look at me and he'd get his pack of stuff and say, I'll come over and have a look. It wasn't 10 minutes after Ralph was there. Everything was working just charmed. It was just charmed. And we'd pay him for the tubes. He wouldn't take anything for labor. He'd say it only took a minute or two. He was a very intelligent man, and he knew when he was beat because he's very determined.